the Knicks linked to Lonzo Ball potentially. Of course, Aaron Gordon demanding a trade from the Orlando Magic. Kyle Lowry also in a position to seek a trade, and a lot of gymnastics going along for where it seems, at least to me, more players are available than perhaps normal in a normal NBA season. Teams are really in positions to make moves. There are some that have made them already, but really interested to see what would happen with Lonzo and Aaron Gordon as two premier pieces. It seems inevitable that Lowry would go somewhere, but those two in particular, Lonzo and Aaron Gordon, are of interest to, I have to believe, a number of teams around the NBA.
Name I think you're sleeping on, if you are including Aaron Gordon in there, is Larry Nance Jr., who has absolutely been killing it in Cleveland this year, and I can say is getting called about. Whether deals are even getting close to agreed to or not is one thing. One thing I read is that GMs are having their executive and assistant GMs make all the crappy first offers because they're sending out so many different offers at this deadline. Teams are just trying to figure out a bunch of different things that they have the assistants just going crazy, calling each other with different offers, trying to get valuations on various assets. I think the market in general is interesting, as aside from players like Ball, there's not too many guards that can hit threes reliably that I think are available. And as teams gear up for contending runs, I think that's a type of archetype that becomes in high demand. I think the market will be interesting for players like Fournier, for players like Aaron Gordon, both on the Orlando Magic, even guys like JJ Redick, who might see the buyout market. I think the shooters intrigue me this deadline, just in terms of what might get given up, what teams are not willing to give up, and who will actually get traded.
I want to start with the Knicks, too, as we get into these case-by-case scenarios for some of these players. Currently at 22-22, tied for sixth in the Eastern Conference, and we've been through this as a team that under Tom Thibodeau has really overperformed, and it was not something that I think a number of fans and pundits across the NBA would have anticipated, that at this point in the season they would be anywhere close to this level of contention, let alone maybe win 30 games all season. They're approaching that here at 22-22 through the 44 games. But Lonzo Ball is a name that to me is intriguing for them. And of course, the price in this whole situation matters a lot when you look up and down at the way the Knicks are built and how important a potential playoff berth would be, but also with the knowledge that this is not a team that by any means is a finished product, and it would not be smart for them to go out and say mortgage the future to try and get into the playoffs. That's not the way a prudent NBA organization would operate. So I'm interested to see how the Knicks play this, and then I think it comes down to price. I do believe that Lonzo Ball would be a good fit, but to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be crazy about giving up a ton for him, because I know he's still young and I know he's done some good things. I'm just not sure I'm all aboard him as a game changer for the Knicks, as in this is a top-tier team in the Eastern Conference, because you're pairing Lonzo Ball with Julius Randle.
Nick, you're absolutely correct about the philosophy behind the type of acquisitions the Knicks are going to look into. Leon Rose knows for sure that this is not the run. This is not the Cinderella year even. It's not time yet.
Oral Roberts.
We're not there. Julius is found money. Emmanuel Quickley is found money. Tom Thibodeau found money, not in terms of his skill that we knew was there, but his modern success. They're having a great time this year with the squad they've got. And we're even hearing rumblings about how their unwillingness to disrupt the team chemistry is weighing into potential decisions. I can say that in regards to Lonzo Ball, they've called. Lots of teams have called, and they've talked deals, and Griffin is not budging on the price in regards to just the range that the Knicks are looking at. The one thing about Leon Rose that's been particularly consistent, despite the small sample size in his time as Knicks Pobo, would be that he puts out a price and sticks to it. We heard he tried trading up for Obi Toppin. He had his offer, and that was it. Cleveland asked for more. He said, I'll take my chances at 8. He made an offer to Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward received a larger one from Charlotte, and he said, enjoy. It continues. Leon Rose is not going to negotiate out of a place of desperation. He spent too much time as a legitimate power broker in the NBA to be putting himself in those disadvantages. He knows not to overpay, and he knows that it's not worth it, especially because of where the Knicks are. In regards to Lonzo, again, the interest is real, but that philosophy, despite Lonzo's last name making him particularly interesting to various fans and potentially people in the organization, just the talent that we know is there as well, it's not worth overpaying this year, and they have the cap space that a lot of other teams don't in free agency. Lonzo Ball going to be entering restricted free agency. The Knicks are still in position to make a pretty decent offer, and at the end of the day, I think that if Worldwide Wes and Leon Rose are in a room with LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball, it's going to be tough for them to leave that room without a pen touching some paper. So with the cap space, the flexibility, the assets that the Knicks have, they could make the move at the deadline. I can't foresee any notable acquisitions, not even just on the Lonzo front. But if you're talking about other big names, Andrre Drummond has been one that has come up a couple times in connection, a big name, in my opinion, just in terms of the news at this point and not on-court production. The Knicks have looked into him as well. There was interest within the organization. Teams aren't monoliths. You have guys with conflicting opinions. There was indeed real interest in the Knicks organization in Andrre Drummond, but nothing enough to strike a deal, including assets, before the deadline. And I don't even think there's enough interest for a buyout offer to come his way from MSG.
I think that's smart on the part of the Knicks as well, just because of the potential resources that would have to be, acute in terms of money and otherwise. And that was not a move that I thought would have been smart for them. And again, it's in keeping with the way this organization has been run under Worldwide West, and it's a credit to them. They are making the smart moves. That's a Phil Jackson move. Okay, there's a guy who we think is pretty good. We're going to try and pounce on him, or out of desperation, we're going to throw a bunch of money around. And the Knicks, at least as it stands right now, seem to be finally headed in that right direction. And that's just another case of it. And I really like their approach. I think that's a really great approach to have, especially with the situation that they are in right now. Perhaps if you're in a spot like the Lakers or the Clippers or the Nets, where it's okay, one move could push us across to being a championship contending team or over the hump to be an NBA champion. Okay, then overpay, then make that type of move that's going to allow you to do that. But at this point, the Knicks are not close to doing that. They're 22-22, tied for a 6th, as great a season as that is based upon the way things have gone for them over the last decade. But it's not smart as well when you lose sight of where you are as an organization. They have not done that. They are building this thing the right way. And I think that's more than anything else what has to be so encouraging for Knicks fans, because there's been so much of that over the last few years of dealing with the desperation, that's not the move we should make, but we feel like we've got to do something to satisfy a fan base that hasn't had results. And it's confidence building for this fan base and this organization, because you feel like they're headed in the right direction.